Started recording. To turn. Oh, just reminding me about the meeting. There we go.
Renzo, please.
Dr. Brooks is joining. There we go. Oh. Oop. Lost Director Brooks. There.
Hey, Mr. Brooks. I think he's frozen.
Katie, you can go ahead and share. I've got it set up that everybody can. Just one at a time.
Okay, when I get to my item, I'll share my screen.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Garrity, I'm digging your background.
Thank you. I live in a cartoon world.
You know, honestly, I would have to agree with you. Oh, let's see. Mr. Boyd, I see you changed your background as well.
There we go.
Indeed.
I was in the same location earlier today. Or it might have been yesterday. They're all kind of blending together.
You displayed it very briefly earlier tonight.
Yes, I did.
Literally just ran from one office to the other. All right, Mr. Brooks, we have, we're here, so we can, I guess we can get started. Can we not?
Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you. Getting there.
You can?
Yes, sir.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
That's good. It's working. It keeps blanking out, going back to something now. Somebody. Are you hearing me?
You're in and out.
Are you able to hear me?
Can hear you better now.
Okay, I'm not putting my hand on anything. This thing blank out. This is K-I-N-X.
Say we can hear some of what you're saying, just not everything. Can everybody hear me okay?
I can.
Okay.
Now?
You're coming back. We can hear you a little bit.
I'm not touching anything, and what happens, it goes back every few
You're perfect.
seconds.
You're perfect right where you are right now. We can
Okay.
hear you clearly.
Are we ready to start the meeting, Dr. Skinner?
Yes, sir.
Look, we better do that before something happens here. Let's call this.
Yeah.
Not quite fast enough.
Okay, are you able to hear me now?
There you are.
Are you able to hear me, Dr. Skinner and others?
Now I can. Yes, sir.
Your internet connection is unstable. And also has on that footnote, and so are you. So, so anyway, let's try it. I don't know what's going on, but we called the meeting to order. And
It's gone again. It's gone.
okay, how about now? Are you able to hear me?
I can at the moment. You're in and out.
Yeah, I said my internet is unstable. Reagan. Okay,
I can't hear it, y'all.
Okay. I can
Are
hear
you-
you.
Cecil, I'm
you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. A minute ago.
Okay.
All right.
The wonders of technology. I tell you what.
I'm you're able to hear me now.
Yes, sir.
I suspect that since Reagan is on, the two of you may have to go ahead and do this meeting. I'm not touching anything. It just says that my internet's unstable. So every second or two, it clicks off and starts all over again.
Okay.
And I don't know. You able to hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you clear now.
But it's going to flip off. Is there a motion to amend the agenda for two items? One is the minutes and one is the
Yes, sir. I'll motion that we amend to add the previous minutes of the last financial committee meeting, which took place, and now my computer froze, which took place last month. Ms. Payton, I don't have the date.
March the 10th.
March 10th. Thank you.
And also another agenda item to be added under the discussion would be the report from Dr. Case and Mr. Case on the 5-day forgiveness.
Okay. So
Did you move on that?
yeah, I so motion that we that the minutes are added to the agenda from March 10th, last financial committee meeting, as well as adding to discussion minutes, discussion from Casey Clapmeyer regarding the waiver or school snow days.
I second that motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All righty, let's see. I think Dr. Skinner, you're on.
Okay, for discussion item 3.1, requested board action relative to approval of claims care. The Hickman Mills C1 school district is eligible for Medicaid reimbursement for qualifying direct IEP services. We have Missouri Health Net Medicaid eligible students that we can get reimbursement for. And so the issue is that we're having more and more of our students that meet Medicaid guidelines, which means a possibility for increased reimbursement dollars to our district. This increase also requires additional time for staff to complete the Medicaid reimbursement process, which takes away staff from focusing some of the special education process from our students. So while the SPED staff are very familiar with educational requirements for therapies, we're not experts in the field of Medicaid. So Claims Care, Inc. is a second-generation women's business enterprise that serves 41% of Missouri school board districts. Around here, they serve Grandview, Center, and Raymore, and they are experts in the ever-changing Mo Health Net system. So the Claims Care would provide support to our therapists, provide Medicaid services, as they provide Medicaid services, and inform us of any additional services that we could submit for reimbursement, complete all claims management for direct IEP therapy services. The great thing about this is Claim Care does not require an upfront fee. The district's only obligated to compensate Claim Care when they submit it and get paid for district therapy. If there's no reimbursement received, we don't pay Claims Care anything. The terms of Claim Care is an initial 2-year term with an option to renew for an additional 2 years. The compensation rate for Claim Care is 33% of the district's Medicaid reimbursement received. We currently pay SpedTrack 10%, so we would no longer pay SpedTrack, so this is really an additional 23%. So if you look down, well, I don't know if you have the memo in front of you, but at the bottom it says, Hickman Mills' current average annual reimbursement through the Mo Health Net Direct IEP Therapy Program is approximately $34,000. That's an average. Claims Care estimates that possible revenue would be between $80,000 and $200,000 for a year. And to give you an idea, let's say it was $80,000. The 33% fee would be $26,400, and the district would receive $53,600. And on the high end of $200,000, the fee would be $66,000, but the district would be receiving about $134,000. And I have on this call with me Lauren Bondi from Claims Care, who's going to talk a little bit more about the services and answer any questions you may have.
If I so maybe, Dr. Skinner, before you guys go further, and Mrs. Bondi and Chairman Brooks, if we can we put the agenda up there? Can somebody put the agenda up there so we can see what we're talking about, please?
Here, let's do this. Let's see. Looking.
And I'm in I heard the question and respond in, but yes, if that can be done.
So, Chair, can I request from, hey, Carla Johnson, can you please, or from Miss Garrity, if someone can grab control of the screen and be able to put the agenda up.
Any one of you has that option that you can share your screen.
Then let me try to work on it myself. Then I will.
Thanks, watching.
Yep.
Director Watry, I was working on it, so if you want to keep moving forward, I'll get it up.
Thank you so much, Carla.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll turn it back over to Lauren to elaborate a little bit more on her services and answer any questions. Lauren.
Okay. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for having me tonight and talk to Dr. Skinner, and I'm excited to talk to you guys. So Claim Care does provide administrative service for Medicaid services provided to students in the school district. As he said, we work with 41% of schools in the state to provide these, and Stacy, our founder and CEO, has been in business for over 25 years, longer than any other Medicaid vendor. Looking at the reimbursement specifically for Hickman Mills, your Medicaid rate is pretty high and going to continue. We're already seeing and predicting for next year, especially, Medicaid eligibility to skyrocket based on the times that we're in right now and everyone getting laid off. So catching those kids and identifying your Medicaid eligible kids is really going to be an important task going forward to make sure your district is capitalizing on the revenue available. So any student in your district receiving services, so that's speech, language, occupational, or physical therapy. Some districts have personal care attendants, private duty nursing, behavioral, and this coming year they're adding transportation. So therapists who are providing services to Medicaid eligible students can be billed to Missouri Health Net. And that's what we're helping your district recruit. So as Dr. Skinner said, on average, your district's making about $34,000 a year. That's taking your last 7-year average. Your estimate is between $80,000 to $200,000. To get that estimate, we use your Medicaid eligibility rate, your estimated child count for your SPED students, and then qualifying the low end, so that 80 would be if you just had kids getting speech services. There'd be no OT or no PT. The high end would be all individual service. So when speech providers see students, they can see them individually, or they can see them in a group and bill for either. So that's kind of the range. Our districts are always right in the middle when they're receiving reimbursement. The things that we're going to be taking away from your district staff that they're having to do right now, we do all provider enrollment. So in order to even bill Missouri Health Net, your district has to be enrolled and revalidated every 5 years, and all your providers have to be enrolled and revalidated. And that's a very timely task that district staff is currently doing that we do for them. We run all the Medicaid eligibility to determine your students and who is eligible. We provide online billing for your providers. We upload all their eligible students so they're not having to do that. And then we do all the billing. And that's something that right now the district is using a platform and module to do through SpedTrack. And it just, whenever someone's not pushing the button, sometimes things are missed. So our staff is hands-on from the beginning to the end. We bill the claims, we reconcile the claims, and then we rebill. If a student, let's say, was eligible when we checked in August, we go and bill a claim in October. Let's say the parent didn't pay their premium. They went inactive with Missouri Health Net. We're going to rebill that claim when the student's reactive again. So again, these are just all small tasks that we do to alleviate the stress and the workload on the district staff, but result in a maximum reimbursement for your district for Missouri Health Net program.
Okay.
Yeah, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any or explain more about the programs.
Chair, I have a question. Hi, my name is I'm Director Watry, but my question is this: you stated you were talking about behavioral therapy. So, with everyone having access to Medicaid, and with the majority of our district being covered through Medicaid, would it be possible that if the district was to hire, I don't know, therapists, that reimbursement would also still apply?
Yes, and there are specific requirements, just as with any therapist providing service. They have to be a licensed LPN to provide services, and there's some requirements there. But yes, we have districts billing for behavioral services just as they do speech, OT, and PT.
Okay.
And we would do all the enrollment of that provider that your district would hire to make sure that they were eligible for billing.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, not at this time.
I would ask that we could move this to consent for Thursday night's meeting.
I so motion that we move it to consent for Thursday night's meeting.
I'll second that motion. Go ahead, take charge, Director Watson.
So with the motion made and second, I will call for, is there any further discussion? Okay. So with that being said, I'll take roll. Oh, wait. Yes, sir.
I think all in favor?
I say aye.
All in favor?
Yes, sir. Aye.
All right. Okay, thank you. And this going. And I'd like to skip 3.2.
So from what I understood of Mr. Brooks, he stated that he wanted to skip the 3.2. Am I correct?
Yeah, 3.2 and 3.3. Again, this computer keeps kicking in and out. Is that okay with you, Ms. Wilsey? If she's on our Dr. Skin, I should ask you, is that okay for us to?
That'll be fine. I've already kind of given Mr. Boyd a heads up on that, and then he will present this information at the board meeting Thursday night to the full board for 3.3.
Okay.
So
How about on both on 3.2 and 3.3? That's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, then let's move to 3.4. Ms. Franklin, I think you have several items that you'd like to discuss.
Hi, Director Brooks. Ms. Rowe will present this item on Edmentum, and then I will take the next 4 items.
Good evening, directors. Attorney Fields, I'm gonna steal the desktop from you so that I can share my memo so everyone can see it while I'm talking, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I think it'll make you stop sharing.
Oh, hold on. Oh, I see what, okay.
Before we do that, Attorney Johnson, was we supposed to make a vote on that for that to go to the full board, the other one?
You did. You all vote. There was a vote to put it on the consent calendar.
Okay, I didn't know if you were finished. Okay.
So you didn't have to send it to the full board. What the motion was to put it on the consent calendar, and that motion passed.
Okay, that's what I meant to say. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Can everyone see the Edmentum item?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for that affirmation. So good evening, board directors and Vice President Reagan. Tonight I'm sharing with you that we are at a time where we want to renew our annual Edmentum courseware. Edmentum is our district's primary online learning platform. Most of you know it as Play-Doh. Additionally, we use a program within Edmentum that's called Reading Eggs, and it is used by our ESOL teachers at the elementary level. Administration is recommending renewal of the software for the 2021 school year. A little bit of the background information is Plato courseware provides us with all of our credit recovery options. It's used extensively at the secondary buildings. It also includes a component related to HiSET, test prep for Missouri options, ACT, work keys, etc. We also use it for summer school. The Reading Eggs portion is offered to all of our ESOL students at the elementary level, and it's a literacy-based program to help increase literacy and language acquisition skills. ESOL teachers use the heck out of it. They really like Reading Eggs program and used it extensively this year. You'll see at the bottom that the quote that Edmentum provides us is unlimited licenses for all of the Plato courses for students in grades 6 through 12. And then we have 30 licenses per school for Reading Eggs. It also includes professional development. The cost for the 1-year renewal for Plato and Reading Eggs is $83,332.50. It would be paid out of our Cerner TIF funds, and that is a difference of a $300 increase from last year. So cost is the same for unlimited licenses. The interim superintendent recommends the renewal of Edmentum to be paid out of Cerner TIF funds, and we would like to request permission for this to be placed on consent items.
Yeah, I have a question, Chair Brooks. Mrs. Rowe, you stated that this was an increase from the last time. Is that correct?
A $300 increase.
And is this the program that we've been doing all this time, or is this something that do we have any other programs similar to this, or is this the only program that we have looked into so far?
We actually last school year did a vendor pitch, if you will, from 2 other platforms that other districts use. So they came in and presented to the Ruskin admin team last fall. At that time, we made the decision that the products that they were offering essentially did not measure up to what we're currently getting with Plato in terms of cost. So the recommendation of the team at that time was to continue with Edmentum. Counselors, we have a new academic interventionist this year at Ruskin, and so she oversees all of the Plato usage for Ruskin. It's actually April Allen Hale, who's probably on here, and she does a really fantastic job. So it's not something that we just keep because we keep it. We did explore 2 other options from other districts, but the recommendation of the team was to continue with Edmentum.
Now, is this affiliated to getting the students? I guess my question is, when we're using all these things, are these based on what is going to be on the test? Is this going to be kind of like similar to, like, if I see this, what I'm working with, this would be when I see this map testing, this would be something I can relate to?
Yeah, so all of the items in Edmentum are aligned to the Missouri Learning Standards. So it's lessons to help reinforce students' knowledge of those learning standards and prepare them for the EOC at the high school level. We use Edmentum primarily for students who need to make up credits in classes.
Okay.
No, sir.
Is there a motion to move this to the consent?
I so motion.
Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. This item be moved to the consent docket. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Vice President Reagan. This is fun. And he's not here.
Looks like he's there but muted. Well, maybe he's not now.
Aye. Can y'all hear me?
There he is.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you, directors.
No problem.
The next item is Ms. Franklin.
Thank you.
Right, good evening.
Ms. Franklin, do you need the screen?
I can share the memo if you need me to. That's the only thing I'm doing is just sharing the memo.
I mean, that's up to
Okay.
you got it? Okay.
Okay. Let's see if I can get it all on here. Okay, so the first item, good evening. The first item that I will be sharing is related to our device refresh for pre-K elementary iPads and Smith Hill Middle School MacBooks. The issue is the majority of our current iPads at the 7 elementary buildings and early childhood center are at end of life status ranging from 6 to 7 years old. They need to be refreshed to provide students a stable device experience for rigorous daily academic work as well as state assessments. The majority of devices at the elementary buildings will not be able to update to the latest iOS operating system after this school year, which would have an impact on compatibility and needed for upgrading and additional storage space and reliability. In addition to that, at times devices need apps deleted before other apps can be loaded, et cetera. So we do need that additional space. Also, the device used by students at the middle school level will be upgraded to MacBooks during the refresh, resulting in an optimal platform device for academic work and integration with the district's digital resources. Just a little bit of background, we did approve the district instructional technology plan, which provides for one-to-one technology device for all elementary and secondary students. This device proposal ensures adequate space for digital resources and textbooks, multimedia opportunities unique to devices, which encourage 21st century skills such as critical thinking, collaboration, and creation versus consumption. This plan also provides the opportunity to use all existing iPad Air 32 gigs and 64 gigs models devices at the elementary level and provides for MacBook Air devices for all secondary students across the district. This plan also provides for one-to-one ratio of devices at pre-K for the very first time, which is most optimal for differentiated learning and access to early learning curriculum and digital resources. The total amount for the 48-month term lease for Apple devices, laptop carts, and third-party cases for the iPads and MacBooks would not exceed $1,665,000. The annual cost for the lease would be approximately $417,132.25 and will be paid from the district capital lease fund. And so basically we've planned for this in our technology plan, and this is part of the plan that would get us one-to-one district-wide. The amount includes third-party vendor dollar amount for cases and iPads and protective shells for the MacBooks, which is estimated to be $65,000. The dollar amount for the MacBooks, iPads, and charging carts would be $1,597,298.50. And so the recommendation is for approval for a 4-year lease purchase with Apple to provide a one-to-one MacBook Air device for all of our middle school students in the district at Smith Hill. The lease would also provide for the purchase of mobility storage and charging for each classroom, which would allow for safe storage and charging when the devices are not taken home. The lease would also provide for 2,600 iPads at the elementary level to refresh the iPads that are at the end of life. The remaining iPad quantity needed at the elementary level would be transferred from Smith Hill to the elementary schools to save money and extend the life of approximately 1,000 devices. The protective cases for all new devices will be added to the lease purchase from the identified third-party vendor at an additional approximate amount of $65,000. And again, the total lease, including MacBooks, iPads, and cases would not exceed the $1,665,000. And yes, I am making a request to have this item sent to the board for consent. Questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
I wanted to know, 4-year lease, almost $1 million. Did we ever look at Google Chrome?
No, I mean, we did not. And honestly, with our district technology plan being an Apple plan, I mean, we would essentially be throwing away everything that we've already invested, which would not be prudent. Right now, we just went one-to-one with our high school students with MacBooks, and we've been using Apple products. We've had great success with that, and this is the device that our students are very accustomed to using. And so a shift would be huge.
I mean, one thing about the Apple is it has its own ecosystem, if you will.
Yeah.
And so the devices all talk to each other. So it is kind of crucial. We did look at Chromebooks years ago before we really committed to the Apples. But at this point, we're committed and we're just continuing with our refresh plan.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks, Mr. Watcher, y'all here?
Chair, I would like to motion that we accept this recommendation to go to consent for the Board of Education.
I second that.
Okay.
Any questions?
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, he's there. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
The next 3 items are specific to Ruskin. And
hello, this is Graves. Did you know I was on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no one has said anything. I've been okay, so maybe I was unmuted. Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Continue.
Okay. The next 3 items are for Ruskin High School, and these items are slated to come out of their comprehensive school funds, and so this would not come out of the district budget, but they are items that exceed $25,000, and so I do want to share each of these items with you. The first item is the teacher iPads. There we go. So this is to refresh the Ruskin High School teacher iPads. A majority of the teacher iPads at Ruskin are aging and need to be refreshed. The Ruskin High School teacher iPads were amongst the first iPads purchased for the district staff. And basically, we'd like to replace those iPads with 10-inch, 128 gigabyte iPads, allowing for more integration with the MacBooks. It provides a new hands-off feature and other things that the teachers would be able to use in the classroom. They would also come with accompanying cases and a Smart Connect keyboard and interactive pencil. The total amount for 100 iPads and cases would be $59,900 and would be funded through the Ruskin High School Title I funds, their comprehensive funds. And the recommendation is approval for the new iPads, and we'd like for this one to also go to the board for consent.
Now, with this new device, will they be able to do more interactive? Like if we had a state like this coronavirus that we have had, this would be more interactive, whereas they could teach and the kids could see them actually like we're doing right now, looking at each other.
Absolutely. And what we want is for the teachers to be able to stream and show videos and be face-to-face with students and not have issues with that because they can't connect because the devices are dated. And so this would prevent that. And what you'll see with these upcoming items is Ruskin is really trying to purchase items that are really advanced items and really aligned with what we see other districts doing as far as integration with technology. So they're really trying to use their monies for that purpose.
Dr. Ms. Franklin, one thing I've seen because, and I've noticed this, and I don't know if a lot of them have, but it seems like every other week or every week we're working on our server. I do know that the pads were down this Friday, and so the kids were not able to log in. I am very concerned about the servers that we have. It seems like every other week or every other month. Is this a tradition that you have to do? You have to update every week, or is our server big enough? I've asked this question like before. How big is our server? I know that everybody is using the internet right now, but it seems like we're getting notifications that our servers are down every other day or every other week. So that right there has kind of been bothering me since I know my student had a lot of work that he needed to turn in and he wasn't able to since everything was down this weekend. So I'm just trying to find out what are we doing to try to as we pushing out all these books, what are we doing to try to fix up our server? And this was before the coronavirus took plot. I'm just, that's something that I'm not understanding. So maybe you guys can help me to understand what are we doing to make sure that our servers are holding what we're putting out now.
Well, I will share, Mr. Director, Vice President Reagan, that I'm not an expert in the servers. And so, but I will share this. One of the things I do know is when we had our internet down on the 10th, I mean, that is something that we planned for. Dr. Smith is really strategic in planning for when the server will be down. We did not have school that day. And so that was a great opportunity for the updates and upgrades to be made. And so she does a fantastic job of really trying to plan out strategically when to take the system down so that we can have our updates, because that's just something that has to happen. Systems have to update. And I think she's done an exceptional job in really planning that out and giving notice to teachers and staff when things will be down. And sometimes it's really late at night, overnight, when people don't have to use the device and students are not in school. And of course now, I mean, I think systems are just overloaded in general because everyone's using technology. Even now we have trouble just using Zoom because everyone's using Zoom. And of course that wasn't the case. I will say just, one of the unintended consequences of this is that all of our teachers are using technology. And all of our teachers are getting really great at using technology and using tools and parts of the devices that they probably hadn't done before. So what we're anticipating is that we want to be prepared for teachers when we do return to continue to use technology in this way. And we want to make sure that we have the resources available for them to do that and be innovative and explore new things. And so this would be one way to do that. But I mean, there are times when we do have to upgrade the servers, and I think we just have to be real strategic about when we do it.
And I like to chime in because Ms. Franklin's 100% correct. We refreshed and rebuilt our server about 4 years ago and really upgraded it, but it does require periodic updates. And I mean, to be honest, Dr. Smith is very strategic about it. She'll do a lot of updates, even, on breaks when we're out during the winter recess and so forth. So again, this one was planned on Friday. We all knew about it. She gives us typically a good week to 2 weeks notice before they, are occurring that way.
Thanks a lot.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
If not, is there a motion to accept this and move it to the consent docket?
I so motion.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so move. Is there a fourth member on the conversation? Or is it just the three of us? Did I hear no?
It's just the three of us. Believe that Ms. Graves was getting on and just establishing getting on. But it's just us three. Us three members
okay.
with.
Yeah, I'm just taking the place of President Briggs.
Oh, that's fine. Let the minutes show, the record show that Vice President Reagan is the third member of the committee this evening. And you have to forgive me, the computer just in and out. So let's go to the next item, Ms. Franklin.
Okay. The next item is related to just Ruskin High School replacement MacBooks. And this is just some of the MacBooks used by the students that have been damaged over time or just need to be refreshed. These MacBooks were part of the first round of MacBooks that were provided to Ruskin students in 2015. So they're just getting old and we just need to refresh those. The total quantity of MacBooks needing to be replaced is about 50. The total amount for those MacBooks would be $38,950. And again, that would be funded through the Ruskin High School comprehensive Title I funds. And the recommendation is to also send this item to the board for consent on Thursday.
Okay. Is there any questions?
No, sir.
What is your pleasure?
I would like to motion that we approve.
Second?
All right, did he second it?
Now better hurry before you lose me. Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. So moved. So ordered.
And I have one
You're on
more.
again, Ms. Franklin.
My last one. I'm gonna keep going. So this last item is the Ruskin High School anatomage table. And this is something that the science department staff and students would greatly benefit from. It's a state-of-the-art interactive anatomy table that would be integrated in all biology and anatomy and physiology classes, as well as PE and health classes. It's a life-size virtual dissection table and a digital library that is currently being used in multiple medical schools across the country. The table allows for extended exploration of human anatomy beyond what cadavers can offer. Students would be provided the opportunity to look at pathological examples, both normal and abnormal. So it really is just a 3D table, life-size table, so students can view the body. The total amount for the table also includes 8 hours of training for the staff and students is $78,000. This also includes a 1-year warranty, all of their software upgrades and technical support. It also includes the medical design software studio package. The table is the convertible model, which can be stood up vertically or interacted with as a life-size horizontal table. I wish I had a picture because it really is cool to see, but if you type it in, it pulls up an image of what it looks like. This too would be funded out of their comprehensive school funds. And again, I'm requesting approval for this to be sent to the board for consent on Thursday.
Ms. Franklin, are you able to hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Can more than one student participate at the same time? Or is this just for individual?
Yes. So typically what you would see is either someone is actually using the table, and students, if you kind of seen on television shows, you'll see like students kind of standing around and watching one dissect or cut or do something to the body. And so that's really what you would want the students to be doing. Maybe the teacher's providing direction and then the students following the teacher's direction. And then you have students that are around the table watching. And so it really does show the body, and it gives students an opportunity to see that in a 3D model.
Okay. Any further questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Miss Graves.
Yes, can you hear me?
Miss Graves, I think you make the fourth person, which means we have a quorum. Miss Carl, are you there?
She's here.
I am here.
Yeah, I think make and keep Robert's rule.
I'm sorry, I didn't get what you were saying, but I think you're asking me whether or not there's an issue with Ms. Graves' participation on the committee.
More or less, is she able to have audience comments at this point?
Right. That's what I was going to say. She's certainly able to have audience comments and ask questions. When it comes time to take a vote, though, the vote will need to be of the 3 committee members.
Fine, that's okay. All right, thank you. Go right ahead, Carol.
Okay, I wanted to know, was this particular item for biology students or for the students that are in the health health class, but in the health,
the plan
house?
The plan is for all of the students to be able to utilize it. And that was part of the discussion. They want as many students as possible to be able to access the table. And so that was part of the plan.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to piggyback off of there because Ms. Grace did ask a good question for biology and health. Do we know how many students, maybe that's one of our questions also, I don't know, but how many students would be in this, how many students right now do we have in this house for that?
Okay, do you have the answer to that?
I would just share that, as Ms. Franklin said, you'll have all students who are enrolled in biology who would have access to the anatomy table, and that's about 300 kids per year. The Health and Human Services House, in and of itself, those students who are interested in health is probably a couple hundred, but then our PE and health teachers are going to use it as well when they're talking about healthy living and anatomy and whatnot. So there's our PE and health department is also big. So I mean, you're going to have a good chunk of the high school students who are able to access and use. I would imagine they'll have a calendar that's filled up about every day of classes wanting to go in and use the anatomy table.
Mm-hmm. How about the physiology?
Mm-hmm. They're on there as well. It was a request from the science department, and so Mr. Allen did consult with the teachers about this item, and so it is something that they were requesting.
I'm sorry, I lost you there. What was your response to? I said, "How about the physiology?" And you responded, and I lost it altogether.
Oh yes, no, I said yes. They are a part of they were a part of the discussion as well. And that's included here on the memo, all of the classes that would be able to utilize the table.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, any further discussions?
Looking at this table, I just went ahead and looked it up to see what exactly it is. This is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I suspect that those students that aren't in those classes would love to see this because it's something different, and they want to get in those classes or at least drop by what's going on. Is there a motion to move this to the docket?
I so motion.
I second.
Is there a second?
I second it.
No, if there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so ordered. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
So we have to, because you got me while I'm open. The next item, Ms. Frank, I think is the last one.
That was my last one.
Mr. Brooks.
Okay, then.
I can't hear.
I was going to ask Mr. Brooks, the next one, 3.9 and 3.10 are discussion. They need no action. So I didn't know if you wanted to put Mr. Clapmeyer in the 5-day forgiveness here or wait till the other two have been discussed.
Well, it doesn't make.
Hello?
He said it doesn't make any difference, but it cut off. But
well, we already amended the agenda, so we need to go ahead and just keep in the order that we have it, Chair, because you amended the agenda at the beginning, and if that was one of you guys' recommendation, just by our rules and regulations, we should have amended it up front before we started. So I would think if the chair,
I thought we did.
Did you amend him to go?
Did we admit both the minutes as well as this one on, Mr. Clark?
So
I think we did.
Dr.
You
Skinner.
did amend it. You just didn't say in which particular order it was. I didn't know if you wanted to put it at 3.11 or move those down.
Yeah, you didn't amend them right.
Why don't we just go ahead? Why don't we just go ahead while we got everybody here and move on to that? Mr. Stadmeyer, we're waiting for you.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring up, since my item isn't there, I'm gonna go ahead and share the memo with you. Had it ready to go and then it disappeared. What the item is if you remember last board meeting, I brought forth the recommendation to forgive the Chiefs Parade Day. Since that time, our last meeting, obviously things have changed drastically in relation to COVID-19. Here we go. Let's see if I can share this. And so looking at the work schedules of our employees, we have added obviously 5 days to the calendar based on the 5 inclement weather days we had this school year. The recommendation from administration is that we forgive those 5 inclement weather days for staff and to have those not added at the end of the year. The reasoning behind that is some of our neighboring school districts are doing similar things because of none of us knowing what kind of status we're going to be at by the time we get to May or June. The ability to pull people together in large groups, probably not more than 10, conducting any PD, those options we just don't see being safe at that time based on where we're at in all of this, and it just not being a productive 5 days to continue to have staff attempt to report whether that we're in a place that becomes a physical presence or we're still virtually based.
Chair, I motion that we take this recommendation to the full board.
Yeah, I second that. Go ahead, Rodri. I'll let, since you're a new member, I don't know if Mr. Brooks, you there?
He might be. With that being said, until Mr. Brooks interrupts me.
There he is.
All right. All in favor?
Yes, we're still here. All in favor, I say aye. I say aye.
Say aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see.
Oh.
Okay.
I guess we could go on to the next one, right?
That's what
Or
Could I get clarification? Did that go to the full board or did that go to consent?
that's going to the full consent board, yes.
It goes to the board. With it going to the board, it goes to the consent items.
Consent
of the
items.
next meeting.
Consent items. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
whoever may be doing
Is it,
it,
are we ready for 3.9?
Yeah.
Mr. Weekly's going to talk about 3.9.
Okay, Mr. Weekly, drive quickly.
Yes, sir. Not a problem. Yeah, in our effort to consistently look for ways to cut funds, we continue to do that every year, just like we have the past 2 years. One of the ways for which we try to do this, and we presented this in the March Finance Committee meeting, was to give you a 3-tier bus system. So we provided this to you last month in March, and then we put out a survey. And the survey went out from, let me see here, from March 11th until April 1st. And in that survey, we did stakeholders outside the district, and we did stakeholders inside the district. In that survey, we received 406 responses and uploaded to ESB. PIO and I kind of consolidated those, read through all those responses and kind of gave you a summary. That summary is uploaded for you. In addition to that, on ESB, you have all 406 responses. So if you wanted to look at those, there are 177 pages. So if you want to look at that, certainly do so. But we also did a kind of a summary, a 1.5 page summary for you so you could have an idea of some of the responses.
Yeah, I'll take the page.
I'm sorry?
I said, yeah, I'll take the page.
I'll take the pages.
You bet. Well, and a lot of the responses were, we had positive and negative responses. You know, some were all in favor of it. Some would like to change it. In the board memo, you can see that the school start times, it's a 3-tier system. In that 3-tier system, we're going to save $428,000 each year. So if we stay with that 3-tier system, obviously there's some push. This would be a big change. I know back in I think 2008, 2009, and even up to 2010 and 11, we had a 5-tier bus system. Then as student body count decreased, enrollment increased, we obviously went to a 3-tier system. And about 2014-15, we went back to this 2-tier system. And so the tiered systems beyond the 2-tier we have now has been in place in the district before. It's just we're revisiting because we could actually have a cost savings to the district. So I'll take any questions you might have.
Yeah, I got a question because I'm glad we finally are starting to look now, because this has been my one for the longest, having the secondary school go back to the way it used to be, it looks like. But in the 2-tier system, how much did you say we have saved?
From going from a 3-tier to a 3-tier would be $428,000.
To go from a 2-tier to a 3-tier, we'll say $428,000.
Correct.
So what are we saving? We're not saving anything with a 2-tier, with secondary going first, elementary going second, right?
Well, currently we spend 3.17 on transportation in the 2-tier system. So going to that 3-tier will save you $428. We're not saving anything because that cost is somewhat stagnant each year. Now there's usually a slight increase due to the Apple contract due to cost of living or cost of gas or maintenance, but there is no savings staying with the 2-year system.
Okay, and my next question is, well, what did we find out about, since we're not using the buses now, what did we find out about that contract? Because that was something that we had discussed since we're not using them, and they were talking about their contract. What did we come out with that?
Well, I'm going to let our attorney answer that. Our legal counsel, Johnson, has been working, looking over the contract, and I'll let her answer that question.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Ask me the question again, Mr. Reagan.
The question was, Carla, about Apple contract, and since we're not using them at the present time, Vice President Reagan was wondering what our action is going to be with Apple contract since we're no longer utilizing their service.
Okay, so we're going to be sending correspondence to them advising them that, it's our position that because we are not using their services, that that we shouldn't owe them for the services. The contract is written in such a way that I think there are some solid arguments that we can make that would prevent us from having to pay anything further to Apple Bus for services that we're not receiving. And so, our position will be an aggressive one, and one that indicates that we shouldn't have to pay for services that we're not receiving.
Now, this won't affect, since we're trying to do this new one, they won't try to come back and say, hey, well, we'll tax on more. Will this be written once we make this agreements? Will we shut them down by not saying, hey, look, this is what we agreed upon? There won't be no flux no increase in nothing.
No, there are provisions within the contract for rates of increase, so that can't be done. In addition to that, Apple and I are the ones that actually put this three-tier system together. So they have been good partners in trying to find ways to save money in transportation, and they were a major part of this, creating this three-tier schedule.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion. Go ahead.
No, I just asked any further discussion. Go ahead, Mr. Reagan.
No, I was gonna wait. Go ahead, Chairman.
Anything
Go ahead and
else?
ask that.
Okay, now I was looking at this Hollywood photo. Who are those folks?
Carla. I know you're talking about Carla.
You're on mute, Mr. Brooks.
And welcome, President Briggs. I so motion that we approve this recommendation.
Is there a second?
I second, but I got a question.
All right, it's been moved and second. Your question, yes, sir. Go ahead.
I would like to see this move to the full board for the consent item, Chairman. And the reason why I think the full board, would like to see it too. That's just me.
I so amend my motion to bring it as a consent item to the full board.
I have no problem with that.
I'll second his amendment.
Okay, well, it doesn't have to be. Why don't we just withdraw your motion, Cecil, and your second, and make a new motion?
Okay. I withdraw my original motion and making a new.
You withdraw the second.
I withdraw my motion to accept the recommendations of
Dr. Weekly.
Dr. Weekly, and I would ask that this be recommended to be put, that we send this to consent items for the full board to review.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
Okay, and all in favor?
Go ahead, hold on. It's a question.
I'm sorry. Let me get a little clarification. I think I'm a little confused in that it may impact the previous motion that you all sent to consent as well. Are you asking to have the item brought before the full board for discussion, or do you want it on the consent calendar?
I think that's the
whole thing, yes.
I think that's what Vice President Reagan is asking for.
So you're not asking for it to be put on the consent calendar. You're saying both. And so I just want to make sure that we're clear about what we're asking for. If you're asking for the item to be brought before the full board for discussion, then that should be your motion. If you want it on the consent calendar, then it'll go on the consent calendar, and the board will, review the consent calendar, and you'll approve it along with everything else on the consent calendar without discussion.
No, I want discussion.
I asked that the motion be withdrawn on the consent calendar, and it was, and then the motion was made to send it to the full board.
Okay. Okay, because the word consent was in the motion, in the second motion. And so I just want to make sure that, your intent is to move that to the full board for discussion.
Yes, the one on the consent calendar was withdrawn, and the other motion was made to send it to the full board.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Thank you, Carl.
Now, Chairman Brooks, at any given time on our agenda, we can do those consents individually. So if we don't want to do them all together, we still could do them. We could put the star by it or however they write it up.
Sure. Then what you would do is pull it from the consent calendar and discuss it. That's what you would be doing. If you put something on the consent calendar and then decide that you want to have discussion about it, what you would probably do is pull it while you're in the full board meeting, pull it from the consent calendar and have the discussion. And then you can either still approve the full consent calendar, or you can pull it off of there and approve the consent calendar without that item.
Thank you.
So as I hear the motion now, this item will not be on the consent calendar. It's going to be moved to the full board for discussion.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor to the aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. All righty. We're now at, let's see, that was the end. Oh, we're at, I think, 3.10. Ms. Carter, did you have, want to do some, share something with us on that item? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, you're asking me? I didn't hear the name that you asked.
Someone it came from the Education Accountability Committee and to share with us on the Finance Committee.
It came from the Policy Committee, the MSBA 2019C revised.
I'm sorry, the Policy Committee, yes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right, went before the Policy Committee, and the Policy Committee moved several of them to the full board, but there were a few, the ones that dealt with construction and prevailing wage, that they wanted moved to the Finance Committee for discussion. So I can take those however you want me to. If you want me to go through and explain what the changes are, I'm glad to do that.
If you would, please. Yes,
sure.
If you would.
So the first policy that is on the agenda is policy DJF. And several of these deal with the same issue. They're all being revised to address a couple of changes in the law. One is House Bill 604 that was passed and will be in effect beginning September 1, makes a change to the state statute that provides that school districts must advertise and bid construction projects that may exceed $15,000. They've bumped that up to $50,000. So under the change in the law, school districts must advertise and bid construction projects that may exceed $50,000. So the change that's in that, and do you want me to put those on the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me do that. Let me see if I can find. Let me see if this does it.
Somehow I got the agenda again.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm getting it there now. Okay, do you see it?
Yes.
All right. So this first.
Carla, Mrs.
Yes.
Fields Johnson, this is President Briggs.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm really not present, but this is the part, Chair Brooks, that I think that it's important for the Finance Committee to pay attention to. And that's why we moved it, Chair Watry, because he chairs the Policy Committee, moved it to the Policy Committee as well, to the Finance Committee. So it's important that we pay attention to the detail in these reports.
Most of these reports were put in place and sent to this committee to make this committee aware. I know that some of the purchasing or even so much as bidding has already been
discussed.
No, so much in that there's state statutes behind some of the things. More specifically, I believe the one that we're looking at right now. But the one thing that I want to ensure is that for public record that we were able to bring this to the Finance Committee as well as addressing it in the Policy Committee, so that when the full board does look at it, that we took all the proper steps to make sure all the questions were asked and all the proper steps were taken.
That's fine with me. And so we're in the discussion. I don't want to prolong this. So there's still another committee. Is your intent to send it to the other committee, or with this go to the board? It's your committee.
With
what you do with it after tonight.
Well, what I wanted to do was give the opportunity for us to discuss it here. But in all honesty, it's my recommendation that it goes to the board for discussion.
Oh, okay, so this is strictly for discussion purposes then.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Ms. Carla, continue then.
Okay. So this first policy, DJF, has been revised to address the change in the law that now requires school districts to advertise bids for construction projects that exceed $50,000. Before, the threshold was $15,000. And so now that threshold has been bumped up to $50,000. And as a result, there's a couple of changes to the policy that affect that. You see the highlighted section. So for purchases not previously included in the board approved budget that exceed $50,000 must have prior board approval unless the policy's emergency provisions are applicable. So the policy was previously $25,000. The state statute was $15,000. So now it's $50,000. And what MSBA is trying to do is just ensure that the policy is in compliance with what's going to be the new law come September 1. And
I
so
I assume that they did that to save some time and rather than those smaller items that they could go ahead and move on and until it gets to 50,000, then that's what they have board approval.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yep, that is the rationale. And the rest of the changes in here are really just wordsmithing changes where they've just moved words around. So you'll see that there isn't anything that's substantive in the yellow highlighted sections, with the exception of the change to $50,000.
Okay.
I'm just going through to make sure that I'm correct on that. Yeah, there wasn't anything else. It was literally just kind of moving words. Like they just liked the reading of the words a different way.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions that anyone has? If not, thank you so very much for passing it on to us, Brother Watry and President Briggs, and Ms. Carter explained it. Is there
and there are several more if you're wanting to go through them. There's a handful of them on here that all have similar issues. I'm trying to figure out how to get my screen to work so I can move it.
Well, I just want to make sure that we're looking at this, because if we do not look at this, we're trying to stabilize Chairman Brooks. We want to make sure that our now that this is going up, it's going to need more of a board approval now. And we're trying to stabilize the district too. So we need to make sure that our percentages that we have set the goal as far as for the budget is not going off, according to these new numbers. So we might have to look at it when it comes to, I think we discussed in the policy thing, if I'm correct, Chairman Watry, if you can, or Director Watry, if you can, about the, we might have to talk to the construction manager or something we stated or something about that. Is that, you recall us talking about it?
So we were, I think one of the conversations we were talking about is the, and I don't want to pass the baton.
I know. I'm sorry.
You're fine. But as far as this will affect, this change in policy will affect our current bids when it comes to our current bond, and how we move forward with that, and just wanting to ensure that those who we have working on the bond, including Mr. Wheatley, are aware of these new policy changes. If we were to go ahead and amend our policies for these, that pretty much proactively can adjust accordingly.
Mm-hmm. And then, so that's why we had stated that we wanted to at least run it by you, Chairman Brooks, so that therefore, when we do have the discussion for the full board, the board is more aware of the prices that have went up on it now.
Well, thank you. But of course, we don't have much trouble if it's, we don't have much choice if it's law anyway.
Right.
True.
Mr. Weekly is always on target on everything, and so.
Thank you, Mr.
So,
Brooks.
okay,
So I would say, since the state law, I will tell you that all construction managers are aware of this, and anybody that works with schools or communities is aware that this has occurred and knows all about House Bill 604. So construction managers are well aware of it. And actually, this process actually makes it easier on them to make decisions quicker. And especially for those smaller jobs under $50,000, it actually expedites their process and makes it easier for them to reach timelines, especially for smaller contracts.
And it was proposed by the MSBA anyway, so it means that the districts all felt that this way it ought to go to expedite things rather than to everything come to the board. I assume that. Was anything, any further, anything else?
Yeah, I do have something, Chair Brooks. This is President Briggs. I just want to make sure that I understand that this is a policy that the state is recommending, but I do not want the Board of Education of HMC1 to lose sight of our physical goals. And so what we choose to do as it relates to this policy is what the board chooses to do, but I hope that it stays in the forefront of our mind that we need to ensure that we try to achieve that 21% fund balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. So do we have to make a motion on this to take it to, or y'all?
No, I think that this information only, that's up to the committee to handle that within their committee or send it to the full board. I don't think we come before this committee to do so unless the chair of that committee,
no, sir.
Watry says.
I think we're fine. We truth be told, we could make a motion to have it moved from this committee, being the fact that it was motioned and moved that we put it towards this committee. We can motion to put it towards, but honestly, it could be information only, and it can be added to the agenda as needed. I'm not concerned, I'm not concerned with the aspect that these things won't be addressed, more specifically by the full board. So
yeah, we do.
Ms. Carter couldn't.
Do we need to make a motion?
Ms. Carter, could the chair of that committee couldn't watch it at the board meeting add this to the agenda for discussion purposes?
Sure, it could be added. It could be added in advance of the board meeting to the agenda. You know, with the MSBA.
I don't think they meet.
No,
they don't meet again.
So you all can add anything to your agenda as long as you provide the required 24-hour notice of what those items are. So it doesn't have to go through committee to be put on the agenda. So it can be put on the agenda for Thursday's meeting, along with the other MSBA policies that the policy committee passed on. And it can just go on the list of policies for the full board's consideration and first read. And then so you all will have a first read of those policies at the board meeting on Thursday. You'll have a month to review those, and then you'll have a second read and vote. So this committee doesn't have to act on this to send it to the full board in order for it to get there. But you certainly
can. Might I suggest, Watry, as chair of that committee, that we just, the appropriate, that we add it to the agenda for discussion and at that time and adoption. We don't have any choice, so just adoption as a part of formality.
All right, we'll do.
Correct. With regard to all these finance ones, that is correct. I mean, the law has changed, so you're going to have to approve them.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said that's correct. The law has changed, so you're going to have to approve them in order to be in compliance with the law.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Thank you for both the Director Watry and President Briggs for adding this to the agenda. Okay.
And so there are
now we're.
Mr. Brooks.
Go ahead, please.
Just so
yes,
that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more on this agenda for today. Did you want me to go through those 5?
Which one? 5 more?
Right, and they're all changes to policies based upon changes in the law that deal with construction and/or prevailing wage. So the changes will be similar to the changes that, what MSBA did was just go through all of the policies that are impacted by those changes and make modifications to the policies.
Carla, can I?
Unless
Oh.
unless Watry Reagan feels is necessary, we're going to have to hear this again on Thursday. Either of you think we need to go through that?
I honestly don't think that we need to go through that unless I think other than 2 other board members who are not here currently, the majority of the board has heard some of these, and it's going to the board for that first reading. I'm good. I'm good on it. I think that we should just kind of do what we can to steadily push this through based on the fact that these policies are founded in state statute.
With you. Unless somebody says, let's go ahead and just forego any further discussion on that. Carla, wait for your presentation and that of the chair.
Chairman Brooks.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure that we send this to the whole board, Ms. Carla, if you can. And just like President Briggs has stated earlier, it is important to note that we're trying to stabilize our budget. So even though this is just a recommendation, I understand we have to go with what the state is saying, but we also have the final say to word it. We can word things if we want. Like, is that correct or not? Mrs. Fields.
Certainly, you can change the wording to policies as long as it stays within compliance with the law.
With the statutes and laws. Okay, I just want to make sure. But I just want to make sure because this is 50,000 from 10. What it went from 50 to 10, 10 to 50. I mean 15 to 50.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
That's out of our hands though when it comes to law.
Yeah, I understand, but we need to make sure that we, as a group, because we don't want this to happen like our other bonds have happened in the past, whereas, the board needs to pay attention to every little bit of money that's going out of this district. That's all I'm saying. Whoever the next board members will be, and you guys that are already here, that is evident that we do that, right. Because the state can take over our district if we drop below that percentage in which we have already have set. We set it to be, what is the fund balance supposed to be for next 2022 and 2021, Mrs. Wilsey? What did the board state that we wanted our fund balance to be? I want to say it was 21. So keep in mind.
I said, is that for the 2021 school year? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, say that again. I was projecting a 19 for the 2021 school year.
Yeah, and as y'all see, we messed around and we kind of we had to spend some money on that stuff over at Irving. So it's just, all I'm just saying is we need to just be cautious, keep an eye on our money, as we know we don't have a lot. So my recommendation is for right now, because we really didn't say a recommendation, are you going to send it to the whole board for first reading to the whole board on Thursday's meeting, both of you chairs?
Yes, we're sending it for the first reading so the board will be able to review the recommendations made. Now, when it comes to the recommendations that have been sent to the Finance Committee, those are based in law. So there's so it is important that we adhere to, like, literally the word adhere, like see what we're dealing with, but more in the sense of with these more specific policies, not as all the policies. These particular policies, these are founded in law. So even as the reason why we sent this to the board or to this committee, the Finance Committee, so that the Finance Committee is aware. I don't want us to think that even as the full board as a whole is able to listen to this, that when we look at wording, or the thing is that as long as we're aligned with the law, that's all that matters. And I understand that we might be very concerned about our fund balance, but in this instance, when it comes to law, there's really nothing we can do about it. All we can do is plan ahead. Hence the reason why we're talking about it now. But as far as discussion,
and I think
discussion to be had.
I think we're talking about two different things. I'm talking about one is law we have to do. The other is that is the prudence on the part of the administration, and I'm sure they will, to keep in mind where we stand.
Right. Okay. But as far as discussion, I think
anyway, I think enough there. So it is the consensus that we move this first reading, a discussion this coming Thursday.
Yes.
And what Brother Reagan and Sister Briggs are bringing up certainly it has to be a part of that discussion. Not the discussion accepting of what the state's saying, but in terms of discussion in terms of where we are financially.
Correct.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay, all right then. All right. Then the future items, if I can get those before you lose.
Did we lose you?
I'm sorry, you're asking me to put the agenda back up. Hold on. There you go. Can you see it?
I'm back, y'all.
Chair Brooks, can you see the agenda now?
So I think his went out, and I'm pretty sure he'll interrupt me when he's ready. But future items, moving on to future items, Ruskin High School Clear Touch Interactive Teaching Panels. May I ask who has information on this, per se?
I do. I'll put I need to start my video. Okay. Do you want me to?
Yes, please.
Here or, okay.
You want me to stop share?
Let me pull up that memo real quick. Too many windows open. Now that was for the education accountability agenda. I can't.
I can't hear.
It's coming. It's coming.
I'm trying to see, where is that? Oh, here it is.
Are you able to hear me?
Getting there.
Sorry.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
I had another item. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Hear you.
Okay, if you're able to hear me, then Ms. Franklin, I think we've gone through it. If there is no objection, then I declare this meeting adjourned at 7:03 p.m.
Okay, for the interactive panels too, will that be going over consent for the board as well?
Did we miss something?
So,
Did we miss something on the agenda?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Mr. Brooks, Chair, we still need to go over the consent items before adjournment. And Ms. Franklin is speaking on the panels currently.
He's gone.
Okay, so Miss Franklin, continue.
Okay, let me see if I can get it up here. Sharing the board is not, I mean, the screen is.
Did we miss something?
I got you.
Okay.
She's giving us the information right now before we adjourn.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. So this is for the Ruskin High School Clear Touch Interactive Teaching Panels. And this is, the issue is a majority of the classrooms at Ruskin don't have the interactive smart boards, as you probably are familiar with at the elementary schools. And the boards are to be used to increase student engagement and classroom participation by all students. And just a little background information, they're the interactive panels that are empowering a new generation of teaching and learning. It allows the teachers to offer real-world educational opportunities for the students using multiple devices, both wired and wireless. The teacher and student MacBooks, Windows devices, multiple screens can be shown at the same time. They have a bundle of software options. It allows teachers to bring in the World Wide Web and other content seamlessly into the classroom. The panel includes a whiteboard that is recordable to allow teachers to record their teaching and provide information to students who might be absent from school. The total for the purchase of 30 interactive teaching panels would be $137,000. And again, this is another item that would be funded through the comprehensive school funds that Ruskin has. And the recommendation is for the approval of the 30 interactive teaching panels.
I want to make a recommendation that we bring it to, is this supposed to be on our consent, or is this going to go on for discussion, Ms. Franklin?
I would like for it to go to consent. It is coming out of the comprehensive funds. So it's not a district cost.
You're asking us to act upon this evening?
Yes, for the board to go on the consent for the board. I'm not really sure where it's sitting right now. I tried to, was it just listed on the agenda? It seemed like it was
listed
moved.
as future items.
Future item, yeah.
But it is something.
Oh, okay. No.
Yeah, I was wondering
Yeah,
why would we be
other
acting on
items.
it this evening?
Yes, it should have just been listed with the other items. That's why I didn't see it listed up there with the other items. So it was just one of the additional items for Ruskin. So instead of it being just the 4 items above, it should have been 5.
So so we'd have to amend the Ms. Carla?
Because I didn't see it on there.
Will.
So even though it was under future instead of discussion, since Ms. Franklin presented it, the recommendation would be, could we put it under consent for Thursday night?
Yes.
Well, we would have to amend it because it was under future. We would have to amend that to go.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking Ms. Carla, do we make a motion now to amend the agenda and add it to the agenda and then vote on it?
Technically, that's what should happen. You know, you want to move it back up because it's listed right now as an item that you guys weren't scheduled to discuss tonight. Okay. And you've now had the discussion on it. So you should make a motion someone should move that item as an item, and I'm not looking at the, hold on.
Item for action.
So, okay, so I motion to move this item out of future items into discussion items.
I second.
And for action, if it, well, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Then
I so motion that we approve that this, the recommendation that this goes to consent items.
No, we can't do that. I'm going to have to take back my motion now because if that was the case, we should have probably did that first.
The first motion was seconded and was passed based on our vote. The second.
Why don't we just amend it, Cecil? It makes it easier, Chairman Brooks, if possible. We could just do that at the board meeting.
Hold on, time out. 20-second time out.
Go ahead.
The amendment was to move the future item to discussion, which we just did, which is the current discussion in which we've had already for this particular demonstration that Ms. Franklin gave. Ms. Franklin has already had discussion, and she's already stated her recommendation. So what we've done is we move backwards on the current agenda into discussion items in which been placed there, and then I'm motioning for it to be put into consent.
But if it's your pleasure to have some further discussion by the board, then we can just forward to the board for
question.
Whichever is your pleasure.
Well, I'm taking the recommendation of Ms. Franklin, which was she requested that it be sent to consent.
Okay. Mr. Reagan, do you second that?
I'll just do it when we get there. I'll second it right now, and I'll amend it once we get to the board meeting.
Once it gets to the board, you mean?
Yeah, to do it separately.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. If there's no further discussion, all in favor of?
Aye.
Aye.
This 4.1 going to the full board, leaving on for you to sign of aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, are all opposed?
I'm sorry, let me
Wait a
interrupt.
minute,
Let me interrupt. I thought that your motion was for it to go to the consent calendar. Was the motion for it to go to the full board?
No, the motion was for it to go to consent calendar. Mr. Reagan seconded it, but he stated that what he said was that he'll wait until we get to the full board meeting and amend the agenda for it to go into discussion items.
Okay. Because here's the thing. What I'm saying is, before we do any of this, we should have caught that in the beginning. That's why I was saying, anytime we make any type of amendments to anything, we need to start practicing, or you guys, when the new board, make sure that we amend everything before we start any type of agendas. See, right now, we just keep going back and forth, when we should do this in the front. That's why all I was saying. But at the chairman's request, if this is what you would like to do, we could do it that way. However, it didn't matter. I was just saying we need to just then that keeps us all on track. That's all I was saying.
Right. I mean, hindsight's 20/20. This is a new process, and we're trying to get through it.
That's cool.
It's something to consider for the next time we have a meeting.
Right.
Okay. Then we're ready. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Did everybody vote?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then so ordered. Okay. Then 4.2 is a future item and future meeting. You can read those for yourself. And if there's no further discussion, then let's adjourn at 7:11 p.m. on the 14th of April. God bless. See you all on this coming Thursday.
All right.
God bless.
Take care.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you sir, for putting up with my whatever the case might be. It's not my fault this time, Dr. Skinner, my friends.
Have a good evening. I appreciate your patience.
All right. I appreciate your patience.
Likewise.
I really do. God bless and thank you. And be safe, everybody. Be safe.
And go home.